Okay, joining us now from Boston, Massachusetts is Rami Khouri, who's a distinguished public policy fellow at the American University of Beirut. Always a pleasure to speak to you, Rami. There's an awful lot to get to here. Where to start? Let's start with the plea for help from Donald Trump, because that is just so unusual in itself. This is a man who, when UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said he was willing to send a warship to assist, Donald Trump said, don't bother, you're too late. You know, we've already done the job. Now he's appealing to several countries, China, Japan, France, South Korea and the UK, to help clear the Strait of Hormuz. Is that desperation?
I think it's desperation as a consequence of incompetence. He doesn't really know how to wage this war that Israel wanted him to wage for Israel. He didn't really have any threats against the U.S. from Iran, but the Israelis convinced him. And he doesn't really get involved in a lot of the details, but he does give orders, do this and do that, and he has no idea what he's doing, either as president or as commander-in-chief, I think. So this is a problem that Americans have to deal with, how their political system can produce this kind of incompetence that creates so many problems now for the United States, for the Middle East region, and for the world, with the hindrance to shipping, not just energy, but also food supplies, fertilizer materials, and important things. So this is part of the reality that the whole world now has to deal with. And he started this war, and it's not going as well as he wants. He thought it would be 3 days and that's it. And now he's just trying to get other people to cover up for him and solve the problems that he can't solve himself. And even if you get other ships from other countries to try to make the Straits of Hormuz open, it's very difficult to do that because the Iranians are all over the place. They're on the water, under the water, on the ground, in the air, and they can stop any ship coming in or out quite easily. So this is a bigger problem than Trump, I think, really understands, and that's why he's just desperately throwing out a lifeline, saying, please help me. And he's going to run into the problem that the United States has lost so much credibility and so much respect with people all over the world for the way it's treated other countries, not just Iran, but also Denmark and other countries, Venezuela and the Europeans, that very few people are going to be inclined to come and just help him out, as they normally would. Even his NATO allies are going to think twice. But probably there'll be some help because the stress of the closure of the Straits of Hormuz is so severe all over the world that probably some people will step in. But they'll also probably want to exact a price from him that any decisions he makes from now on should be in consultation with his allies.
Yeah, I mean, you pointed it out there. President Trump's made it clear now that all sort of geopolitical decisions and relations with allies are transactional. So why wouldn't they operate by the same rules? Let's talk about the fact that US citizens have been advised to vacate 14 Middle East countries. Usually when you hear a country telling citizens to get out, it's usually very shortly after, followed by conflict. This doesn't look particularly good for anyone thinking that the war might be about to end.
That's right. It doesn't look good. I mean, the American government can't defend its own embassies. It's quite extraordinary. Now it's telling all its citizens to leave because it can't help them. This is a sign of how difficult the situation is for the Americans and the Israelis. The Iranians have developed some quite sophisticated systems, both at the logistics and planning level and decentralization, because they have been planning for this war for about 20 years. They've, ever since the overthrow of the Iraqi government, which happened very quickly, they've been working backwards from those lessons and how to secure your government system in case you're attacked by the Americans. And they came up with this very sophisticated, decentralized, multi-layer system, both for the weapons and for the fundamental basic government decision-making and services. And they've implemented it very, very efficiently. And that's why they're still firing these rockets and drones, and now in coordination with Hezbollah. So this is bad news for the U.S. and Israel because they're core defense systems, the detection systems, the radars, the satellite systems. The Iranians have been able to incapacitate many of those and destroy them, and therefore more of the projectiles that they fire are reaching their target. Many of them are being shot down, but quite a few are getting through. And we don't know exactly the damage because the Israelis, in their usual dishonesty and embarrassment, don't want the world to know, so they forbid the media from reporting on what happens in Israel, except if a rocket falls in a park or something. But the signs are very bad for the U.S. and Israel, and the Iranians have made it clear. They made it clear before the war started. They said, if we're attacked, we're going to respond all over the region, and we're going to respond over a long period of time, and we're going to respond over many different kinds of targets, not just military targets or embassies or commercial or energy process. We're going to hit a lot of different targets in a lot of different countries for a long time. So they stated it very clearly. But the American government and the Israeli government, in their combination of arrogance and incompetence and a little bit of racism thrown in, couldn't believe that the Iranians could possibly do this, but they seem to be doing it. It's still, we've had 2 weeks of war now. Tomorrow is the beginning of the third week, so let's see where this goes. But the signs are not good, and the Americans have started exploring where it can get people to help them mediate a ceasefire. And the Iranians said, thank you, but no thank you. We don't want to do a ceasefire with you. They've put some other conditions as well, which are pretty impressive. But we basically have to take it a day at a time. And until the pain gets so intense for so many people around the world that the Americans and the Israelis and others start to make the concessions that the Iranians are demanding.
The fact that Iran has established that it can control the Strait of Hormuz and therefore can influence the global financial markets and the oil price, the impression I get is that the United States must understand now this is a problem that's not going to go away, that Iran can do this whenever it wants. So I would have thought the US and Israel will understand they have to either go in and solve the Iran problem now or later. But at some point they will need to deal with this. What's your take on this? What do you think the timeline might be?
I wouldn't phrase it the way you did, that there's a problem that has to be solved. The problem that has to be solved is Israeli and American militarism and colonialism. And this is the continuation of a century of foreign powers, Russians, British, Americans, Israelis, Iraqis, people from all over the world have assaulted Iran, occupied it, grabbed its resources, tried to control it, and that's the problem. And the Iranians are responding. The Iranians were not going to attack the United States, and they were probably not going to attack Israel directly unless Israel kept attacking Palestinians and Lebanese. But the problem is the world's powerful countries, especially the United States and Israel, need to tone down their colonial, imperial, militant, racist policies and start to envisage living in the Middle East in a context in which their rights are protected, Arab rights are protected, Iranian rights, Turkish rights, everybody's rights are protected at an equal
Rami,
level.
sorry to interrupt you, because we're almost out of time. I just want to clarify, let me rephrase it this way. Do you think the US and Israel will allow Iran to continue to have this ability to close off the Strait of Hormuz, knowing that they can do that?
They can't. I don't think they can stop it. And the Iranians only closed the Straits of Hormuz because the Israelis and Americans attacked them. They would not have done it otherwise. So if they want the Straits of Hormuz to be open to world shipping, which they have been for 100 years, then the Americans and the Israelis have to change their policies. And the Iranians are perfectly willing to do this. And they had the JCPOA deal for the nuclear stuff. But it's the colonial arrogance of the Israelis and the West that has to stop. And this is amazingly what the Iranians are trying to do, at least within their neighborhood. So we'll have to see how this goes.
Yeah, the entire world's watching on to see how it goes. Rami, it's great to get your analysis. Thank you so much. Rami Khouri from the American University of Beirut, my guest.
Thank you, Neil.